Hi friends, my name is Michelle Renee, but you can call me Giggles. So this is the answers video to the questions that I had you guys ask last week for a Q&A in celebration of me approaching 2,000 subscribers. So thank you so much to everybody who has asked a question. I really appreciate it. And if I pronounce your name wrong, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to. In the background, I'll just feature fan art that people have drawn for me over the years, which I really appreciate. And yeah, fair warning, I talk a lot, so just apologies in advance for that. Okay, so without any further ado, here we go. Isuna asks, how did you become introduced to the creepypasta community and its narrators on YouTube? Okay, so this is a fun story. So the first creepypasta narration I heard, I was 16, and it was by Creeps McPasta. It was something about My Little Pony, and I found it on Funny Junk, actually. I have a huge thing for certain voices, and Creeps's was absolutely golden. He was definitely the first narrator whose voice I fell in love with. So I listened to more and more of his videos until one day I clicked on one of the suggested videos and didn't realize that it was narrated by somebody else. It was narrated by Mr. Creepypasta. And at first I was like, who the heck is this guy? And where is my golden-voiced British dude? And then I realized, oh, this is like a thing. So like multiple people do this, and I loved it because I love scary things. I did not start out as a narrator. I didn't really know what I wanted to do back then, but I started making these really ridiculous reaction videos to creepypasta readings where I sat just in front of the camera and just reacted to different narrators. Honestly, it's way more mundane than you think it is. I was also way more animated back then than I am now, so my reactions were probably more jumpy. And most of the narrators acknowledged me, like Creeps commented on, I think I did a couple of videos of me reacting to his stories, and he said, oh, so this is what my narrations do to people. And Mr. Creepypasta was the same. He commented on my videos, and I thought that was really cool of them, the narrators who commented on that. So for a hot second, I was just sort of this person who reacted to creepypasta narrations. And at some point, I thought I'd try my hand at narrating, and when I did, Mr. Creepypasta took notice of it, and he commented on one of my videos, and he said that he thought that I had a nice voice for narrating, and I felt encouraged enough to continue, and that's how I was introduced into the community. Piccolo Jr. What is your top 5 favorite animes of all time? Oh, dang, I love questions like these, like top 5s or 10s. For those of you worried about spoilers, I won't say too much, but if you want to walk in completely blind, I'm giving a spoiler warning right now. Wow, favorite anime. Okay, the thing with me is at one point in my life, I became obsessed with riddles. And because of that, whenever I watch something, I figure out what's gonna happen before it happens. Or at least I try to. If I figure out okay, if I figure out if a movie or play or cartoon is clever enough to stump me by giving me something that I totally didn't expect, but it still works, then I automatically love it. So I guess aside from other things that I look for, like story or substance, characters, character chemistry, character dynamic, etc., I really like looking at the things that stump me. I factor that in. So they're not really in order, but right now my top 5 animes would be 5 would probably be Future Diary. The twist took me completely by surprise. I did not expect it at all. Also, I have to admit, in terms of anime, I actually really enjoy yandere characters just because I think they're more interesting than tsunderes. Like, tsunderes are so frustrating because they have a hard time communicating what the audience already knows is there for, like, an extensive amount of time. But yandere characters are straightforward, effectively creepy, and they make great villains. And, well, you just need to figure out how to get away from them. So in the case of Future Diary, the yandere character was definitely my favorite because as a viewer, I felt I really didn't know if I liked her or didn't like her. She was a very complex character, and I love characters like that. Also, the plot was stinking fantastic. I really enjoy that kind of plot. I didn't appreciate the bits of nudity they had in there, so, like, admittedly, I just kind of closed my eyes for those parts. But, like, yeah, it was a pretty solid anime. Number 4, probably Yeah, Ouran High School Host Club definitely is on the list. It was the first anime I had ever watched, I think, when I was about 14 or 15. I thought it was really funny. I love the art style. I like the guys. They're really funny. Watching this also made me aware of the concept of an otome game, if that's how you pronounce them, which is something I'm not really into, but if they make an anime based off a dating sim and it has a good plot, I'm totally gonna watch it so I can enjoy a good plot and pick out the guy that I think works best with shipping the main character. Having said that, I thought this was probably one of the greatest ideas because it was a parody of dating sims, you know? This is also my first anime I saw with Todd Haberkorn, who is probably my favorite go-to voice actor for villain characters because he always manages to play these really slimy, perverted, creepy characters that just give me the creeps, but his performance is so good. But in this one, in Ouran High School, he was slimy, creepy, perverted, but he was really funny, and you liked him, you know, like we were supposed to like him. So I've been a fan of him ever since because I figured if he's good at being a villain, then I should like him. But like at the same time, he's so like diverse and you wouldn't think so. Like he's great. The characters were really distinct and Ouran High School Host Club is a great comedy. Number 3, I have to mention Black Butler. Black Butler is definitely my guilty pleasure anime. I'm a Christian. I love Jesus and I am devout. I checked it out because the art style was really interesting and I think I saw fan art of Sebastian and was really smitten with his design. But when I learned he was a demon, I was like, ooh, God, guard my heart. I wanted to see it, but I also wanted to be careful. So I ended up really enjoying him because he was a fine example of how to write a character, I think, where you're conflicted because you like him, but you know he's got this ulterior motive and is pretty dangerous. I also love CL. I think him being the child heir of this big corporation is genius, and he's just a great character. And of course, I love Grell, who doesn't? I just have fun every time he's on screen, and I'm also really smitten with The Undertaker. I think he's very charming. Todd Haberkorn was also in this one, and I recognized his voice right away, of course. Number 2, I think the next would be this anime called Another. I don't really get scared anymore unless it's like a very specific phobia of mine. And Hell's Hobo, if you guys know that username, has been showing me all these animes, and I think it started when he said like, Gigs, like we're gonna watch this horror anime called Another, and I loved it because once again I couldn't completely guess anything that was gonna happen. Like I was so in the dark. Everything was unpredictable. All my skills as a riddler was failing me while I was watching this. It was brilliantly written. Nothing was wasted. And like I said, I don't get scared much anymore, but one episode from this anime legitimately unnerved me to the point where I was trying to get it off my mind in order to go to sleep. It was, go watch Another. It's so good. Lastly, I'm currently watching 2 animes. The first one is more of an honorable mention, and that is Code Realize. It's another anime based off of a dating sim, but it's hilarious because they can't physically touch the main character or else they'll die. So that's just great, and I'm not too far into it, but it's a really good plot so far. And the very last one is called The Ancient Magus Bride, or Magus Bride, however you pronounce it. I haven't finished it completely, but oh my lord, this art style is gorgeous. The concept is wonderful. I love Elias a lot. He's one of my all-time favorite characters. I was under the impression that he was this like ruthless, evil thing, but when I started watching, he was like very gentle and very different, and I was so smitten with him in a very special way. And I also love the voices and the voice acting. The main character has more of this regular voice, not too anime-y, and so does Elias. What do you know? Todd Haberkorn's in it too. So yeah, those are probably my favorite animes right now. John Cody Fasano asks, do you ever plan on becoming a medium ball of giggles or a little ball of maniacal laughter? I intend on staying as Little Ball of Giggles because that is part of a weird nickname I received in elementary school, though I have nothing against maniacal laughter. I do it myself sometimes in my free time when no one's watching. Kenna K Artistry asks, what has been your favorite cosplay you've done and what is your favorite that you're planning? Love you, Gigs. I love you too. So I haven't cosplayed too much. The only ones I've had being Eve from the video game Eve, Spider-Girl, Miraculous Ladybug, Moana, and a gender-bent Riddler. I'd say my favorite is probably Spider-Girl because she's been my favorite superhero since I was 11, and I wanted to be her so bad when I was a kid. So I have just a little more history with her as a character than most of the others, to the point where she's nostalgic. So when I put on the costume, I feel incredible in this weird kind of confidence. I've also noticed this is my most popular cosplay, and my favorite thing to do in it is posing her poses, you know? I usually get a lot of attention from guys in it, which is nice if I'm honest, because that's something I'm not really used to. And it's kind of cool feeling like I'm a hero in her costume, but sometimes some people will be like, oh, are you the May Parker Spider-Girl? And that's really awesome to hear because she's kind of obscure, and it's cool to meet other Mayday fans because like for the longest time I thought I was like the only person who really read the comic books. And then I'll get the occasional little girl who comes up to me and goes, can I take a picture with you? And I think that's so special because, you know, I grew up with primarily male superheroes. And if I'm really honest, I didn't really like a lot of the female ones. I couldn't relate to them. I don't know, they just didn't like have much of an impact on me. And the first one that I loved was Spider-Girl. So I feel so empowered to inspire the next generation with an awesome, realistic teenage female superhero when a little girl comes up to me and asks me for a picture. I want her to look at me and see a person who treats her like she will grow up to be a superhero too. And that's probably the most heroic thing I've done in a costume. Creepy Raven asks, who inspires you? Oh, wait, sorry. Creepy Raven asked a couple questions, so I'm just going to read them one by one. Creepy Raven asks, who inspires you personally to be the best that you can be? Well, aside from Jesus, of course, because that's like a go-to answer. The person who inspires me the most is probably C.S. Lewis, because he's this amazing Christian author who writes fantasy novels that are like mystical enough for me to enjoy, but also very much Christ-centered. Like I'm into the movie, TV, cartoon, musical world, and I think most Christian movies are really cheesy and done in a way where only a Christian audience can watch and enjoy them. And one thing that C.S. Lewis had said it was, if a children's story can only be enjoyed by children, then it's not a very good children's story. So he's made these amazing stories that anybody can get into, like, you know, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the Screw Tape Letters. I love that one. And I've always wanted to read The Great Divorce. I haven't, but I really should. For a while, I thought my passions and aspirations were very discouraged in the church because I was really weird. I didn't know I was apparently a total theater kid. And so C.S. Lewis really inspired me and still does to spread the word and love of Christ through my own stories like he did, in a way that it's there, but it doesn't come across as rubbing it in your face. And I thank God for my passions and weirdness because I feel he's placed me to reach out to the people that the average churchgoer will probably not have much opportunity to reach out to. So there's a sense of responsibility where I feel privileged to be me. And for the future, how fitting alongside creepypasta. The next question is, what do you have planned for the future? I have original half-animated stories of mine, as well as some comedy skits and God Talks. Next question, but of course by Raven. Aren't you a super world-famous actress? You starred in the lead role in Heathers? Well, I wouldn't say world-famous, but yes, that was me. I played Veronica Sawyer in a production of Heathers the Musical, and I loved every moment of it. The whole show is on YouTube if anyone is interested, and it was a very, very humbling time for me. His next question, will you stay awesome and humble? Okay, so I keep telling Raven that I have a huge pride issue, which is absolutely the truth. I've got a major pride issue, and I need to keep working on it. And I'm really selfish, and that's not good. So I will continue to work on being humble, one of my biggest aspirations. 3695 Red Dragon asks, do you ever plan to try your hand at writing gigs? I have actually. I write a lot of stories that I mostly plan to be animated, but I've also dabbled in writing things for stage or short films. One of my projects is actually on my YouTube channel, or at least the first 2 episodes of it. It's called Angelic, and it's this superhero series I wrote when I was 18 years old after I got all the voice acting done, and other things. I kind of just let it sit there gathering dust for a while because I was waiting for an animator. But my professor liked my idea and suggested that I just draw it and people wouldn't even mind it that much. So I did. I drew everything and I'm still drawing everything. There's 17 episodes in total, and like right now, like I've only drawn up to the 4th episode. So it's not really animated, but it is kind of like a colored storyboard. It's also one of the first things I wrote, so it's probably really cringy, but I think some people would really like it, so I insist on posting all the episodes as they are and learning from them what was good and what was bad. All I'm waiting for on episodes now are just original music by my very small team of composers. So if you want to make music for my cartoon, please, please, please message me. I'd really appreciate it. But yeah, I write original things, mostly fairy tale-like stories. I'm hoping to put more and more of them up on my channel once they're ready. The same person also asks, are you ever going to get a Facebook? I do have a Facebook. Right now, I think it's called Morals and Virtues, since that was the name this channel was originally under, but I'm not really active on it, so I haven't changed it. I should probably pick it back up, though. I'll make an announcement once I'm back on Facebook. They also ask, do you know how to dance? Sadly, no. I'm a mover, which in musical theater means they can learn basic dance choreography or like waltzing or something. But no, I'm not an advanced dancer. It's really sad. Suka Blayet asks, 2000 is like so cool. LOL, like it's such a cool number, you know? LOL, congrats to me. It is a cool number, yeah. Thank you so much. Catrick TV asks, what's your favorite piece of literature? Also, do you remember me from San Japan? I went as the 11th Doctor and my friend went as the Riddler. Hi, I'm so sorry. I have a really terrible memory, so I may kind of vaguely remember you. I need to be better with that. It also helps to see faces. I hope you're doing well. Good to hear from you. I'm a huge enthusiast for traditional fairy tales, like before the Brothers Grimm collected them, so I would say my favorite piece is probably Snow White. She's one of my aspirations because fairest of them all to me means she's very compassionate, very loving, not to mention like incredibly forgiving. In the original variant of Snow White, she not only forgives the queen for poisoning her, but she like invites her to the wedding out of pure goodwill, and I love that so much. I aspired to be like Snow White. I also adore Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Little Red Riding Hood, but like pretty much like every other fairy tale too. Pied Piper, Prince Lindworm. I like Rumpelstiltskin a lot. Rapunzel, I was waiting for them to make her into a Disney princess, so I love her. I also really like Fahrenheit 451 and Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. That was a great book. And this one book that I found at like Target titled The Third Twin. It sounds really stupid, but it was pretty good. I really enjoyed that one. Lil Fuzz Peach asks, I found you on Avav's channel and love your voice. How did you meet Avav, and are you planning on doing more duets together in the future? Hi, thank you so much. I met Ava on castingcall.club and saw her auditions for her online musical cover of Heathers the Musical. So like what Raven asked earlier, I played Veronica Sawyer, which was my first time being a lead last summer, and she was an absolute dream role to play. So admittedly, when I saw Ava's auditions, I was like kind of going through withdrawals. I saw she was playing Veronica, and I was like, oh, okay, it's fine. I'll audition for McNamara, and she cast me as McNamara, so that was really cool. And ever since Ava and I added each other on Discord, and I've been singing stuff for some of her projects, and she's super adorable and super talented. We're definitely going to collaborate more in the future. So yeah. Mithril Gaming Lab says, hey Giggles, been a while, hun, smiley face. My channel's back up and I'll have my Ark server up if you still want to play. Hey buddy, I love Ark. I would love to play, maybe soon. It's just that I don't want to get too addicted again. But maybe like every now and then, like absolutely yes, because I love Ark so much. James Rivas asks, top 5 video games of all time. Oh, perfect. I was just talking about Ark, but I don't know what number I could put it at. My top 5 video games. Okay, no particular order. Man. Okay, well I have to mention Pokemon. It's the game I've been playing ever since I was 6. I've always loved Pokemon. I haven't finished Moon yet, but I really need to before the next generation comes out on whatever platform they're putting it on. I would say another one of my favorite video games is definitely Overwatch. I'm main Pharah, but Widowmaker is, oh my gosh, I stinking love her. And I also like Tracer, but more so for her aesthetic. Overwatch is insanely inspirational to me. I'm really big on heroes and heroism and doing the right thing, and the animated trailers get to me. Oh my gosh, they make me tear up every time because the way that they show off their heroes is just blindingly righteous to me, and you can just tell it's oozing true, sincere heroism, and it gets me, I'm passionate about that. It gets me fired up. Okay, the next game I would probably have to agree is Ark. I get so obsessed with Ark, it's like bad for my health. What I do every time I play is I befriend all my dinos and I make this nice base right by the water, and I name all my dinos after characters from musical theater. And if you go into my base, I put up little signs, and each one quotes like lyrics from all my favorite songs from musical theater. It's just, I literally just play Ark just to live in that universe. Number 2, I'd have to say definitely Undertale's really fantastic. Once again, at least with the Mercy route, great heroism. Like, I did cry while playing this game the first time, which was the pacifist route, but I didn't cry when I did the genocide route right after it. Sorry. The interaction in it is spot on, the music is phenomenal, and the script is great. It's just a GG. And number 1, lastly, one of my favorite video games, I gotta go with Danganronpa. Like I said, I'm a total Riddler. I love murder mysteries and whodunits and all that jazz. I haven't actually played Danganronpa firsthand. It's more like Hell's Hobo introduced me to it. And so he plays it and I watch him play it, and like we discuss what we think is going on and I help with solving things. I think he's better at solving them. I'm losing my Riddlerness. I need to work on that. But you know, we work as a team to figure it out, and sometimes he's right and sometimes I'm right, and it's like we make a good riddle solving team. The characters in Danganronpa are amazing. The plot is fantastic. It's got like this flair and pizzazz to it that's so right up my alley. And the murders are geniusly thought out. I haven't done V3 yet, but there was this one murder in the second game. I think it was the second murder. And I had this theory on how it could have been done, but then I brushed it off and was like, nah, that's crazy. No one would think to put that in this game. And it turned out that was exactly what happened. But then I did have a success on this same trial because, okay, spoiler alert right now for people who haven't played Danganronpa 2. Come back in like 30 seconds starting now. Okay, so Hell's suspected Sonia was the one who killed Mahiro because she was wearing like a wetsuit and there was this rack of wetsuits in the thing. We couldn't click on the wetsuits to investigate, however, so I immediately ruled out that she was not the killer in this case, because sometimes in order to figure out a riddle in a video game, you need to just think about the people who put it in the video game. So bam! Thinking outside the box. Sorry. I was just really proud of that. Yeah, Danganronpa definitely has me shook. So, the next question is Joshua Powell. If you had a choice, would you fight 100 duck-sized horses or 10 horse-sized ducks? I guess I would pick 10 horse-sized ducks because I love birds. They're like my favorite animals, and I would just let them defeat me. Crazy is Crazy asks, when you were young, did you always know you wanted to be a voice actress? Also, congratulations with almost 2,000 subscribers. I still love your stuff. Thank you so much, Crazy. When I was younger, I loved cartoons and voice actors, so voice acting was definitely my introduction into the acting world. I started auditioning for stuff online for voice acting when I was 15, and ever since January of 2 years ago, I've been landing some paying gigs, which is great. Hopefully I can keep it up. But yeah, my main career goal is to be a musical theater actress, but voice acting too has always been a passion of mine, and I'd love to do that on the side along with some TV and film. John Herrera says, I'm Madison, by the way. Oh, no way, me too. Umbrella Boat Studios asks, what is your dream acting role? What is your dream acting role? This can be for theater, movies, television, anything under the spectrum of acting. Also, what is the weirdest thing you've seen backstage? Man, that is like my favorite question ever. Brownie points. I was gonna actually make a video about my top 10 dream roles for musicals. So right now, in no order, I'll give like 3 out of my top 10, and I'll say some stuff I'd like to do for film, TV, voiceover. I guess I've already mentioned that I've played Veronica Sawyer this last summer. I am still so in love with the character. I love the conflict she has to face. I love her dynamic with every other character. I love how she uses her smarts to get herself out of certain situations, and I like how she grows and matures through everything. I could talk about musical Veronica for a long time, but one thing I noticed when I went to highlight all of my lines is that she's the only character in the whole play who asks others, "Are you okay?" So that kind of reinforces that, aside from finding identity, Veronica's endgame goal is to somehow influence the world to be a better, nicer place, and that's how I tried to portray her in my time spent in her shoes. Pardon this joke, I would kill to play her again. Another musical dream role of mine has always been Joanna Barker from Sweeney Todd, Demon Barber, Fleet Street. She's so precious, and like, oh my gosh, the character to me has always been really enchanting. Like, I can't stand Tim Burton's version of the movie anymore because they cut one of my favorite songs that gives her a little more character. The song is called Kiss Me / Ladies in Their Sensitivities. If you know the composer Stephen Sondheim, he is like the king of patter, which I like performing, and I also enjoy overlapping, and this song has both. The scenario is that Anthony is trying to get her to elope, and she's half like, "I want to go with you," but also like, "Oh, but I'll get in trouble if Judge Turpin comes back." I would love to perform that song one day, but I'm so brown. Oh my gosh, she's so crazy. I love it. My last musical dream role that I can share with you guys on this question has gotta go to Phoebe Dysquith from A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. I love this show. I've seen it twice. Phoebe is like Snow White to me, and I love the character Snow White. I'm also a soprano. I've been trained in opera, so one thing I love about her is that she hits these really nice high notes in an operatic style. Phoebe's just, oh my gosh, she's just adorable. My favorite song is definitely I've Decided to Marry You. Like, I learned Phoebe's harmonies and blocking almost immediately, and yeah, those are, oh my gosh, she's just amazing. And yeah, so those are some of my dream roles for musicals. In film, TV, voiceover, I can really only say certain archetypes of characters that I'd love to play. Like, I've always wanted to be in a horror movie. I would love to be the final girl. My dad and I actually auditioned for Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios a couple years ago, and he got in, but I didn't. My dad ended up being Twisty in the commercial for HHN, but in the actual park, he was Krampus in the Krampus maze. I had gone to Halloween Horror Nights this one year. They were doing Scream, and this girl jumped out at my group like, "Oh, he's coming, you gotta help me, please help me." And then Ghostface comes up right behind her and drags her back through the door that she like burst out of, and I really wanted to play her just because I thought that was hilarious. I love playing princess characters. I love ingenue characters are my favorite. If you don't know ingenue as a stock character and you're into acting, look up the word. It's spelled Ingenue. She's a great character. She's my absolute favorite to play. I found that I really enjoy stories that involve murder at some point. I hope that sounds nice. I'd also love to play a character that's like, I don't know, going through some like crazy stuff, like maybe they're kidnapped and going through Stockholm Syndrome. I think that's a very difficult role that not too many people can relate to, and like, I like the statement of it. I would totally play it as long as like I don't have to get naked or something. Absolutely not. As for the weirdest thing that I've seen happen backstage, see, I've really only been in like 2 musicals, so I'm just gonna talk about Heathers again. I'm so sorry. So for our production of Heathers, we had 2 people cast for every major character except Veronica. We had 3. So we all alternated like casts like every night and stuff. It was pretty cool. So while the show was going on, some of us are in our green room, and one of our Veronicas, Chandlers, Dukes, and McNamara's were all sitting down in chairs, and one of our JDs was sitting on the ground in the middle of them. So all the girls put their feet up like over each other's, but over his shoulders, so his head was sticking out. It sounds weirder trying to explain it than it actually was. And they challenged him to try to get out, and it was really easy. He just did it, but yeah, that's probably the weirdest thing I've seen. Sorry that it's so lackluster. Stefan asks, what was the first creepypasta that you can say either you really enjoyed or really got to you? The first one, probably Jeff is Back by Mr. Creepypasta. Like I said, I don't really get scared anymore, and I've never really been afraid of Jeff per se, but Mr. Creepypasta's voice for Jeff scared me in the beginning, and I believe I recorded my reaction to it, and I was really frightened. But also, I got really into the Pen Pal series that Creeps did a while back. Like, for a long time, I was, like, obsessing over it. So I enjoy the ones where the narrator turns out to be the killer and, like, a twist ending. I also like the ones about dating or the deep web. Oh, those are fun. Or even when the narrator finds something, like, on a TV channel or a website and it's actually about him. Those are so great. I really like those. A Winter Wonder asks, I was always curious how you came up with the name Giggles. Also, congrats on 2K subscribers. Thank you so much, buddy. So growing up, I never really had a nickname, except for this one time in elementary school, my friend called me a little ball of giggles, hugs, and sunshine. She only said this like one time ever, but I really liked the sound of it. So when I decided to join the creepypasta community as a narrator, I realized I needed to use one of my characters as a persona because I've got tons of characters from stories and stuff. At the time, the croupier didn't really have a name. Like, she wasn't even called the croupier yet. So whatever I was going to name her would be my handle. I think I bounced around a couple of times with names like, you know, she's the embodiment of a poker face, so at first I was just calling her Poker Face, but then I was like, no, I'll call her Lucky, but I didn't really like that either. And then I remembered the one-time nickname my friend gave me, and I thought, oh, what about Giggles? Like, that's cute and accurate for me as a person, but also my persona, like, she giggles in the darkness when you can't see her, when she has a mischievous idea, so I thought, oh, that's so perfect, that can be both our nicknames. Since I figured that the person who walks into her casino would pick up on the habit and kind of rudely say to her, like, look here, Giggles, I don't have time for this. So in the end, it just kind of worked out, and I'm proud to be known as Giggles. Mr. Pidgey asks, memes or nah? Oh, I love memes. Right now, my favorite one is the Thespian Peacock because I can relate to it the most. Name Pending Channel asks, your favorite writer who isn't Zoe, because we all of course know she's the best writer on the planet, like she's objectively the best, so excluding her, which wordsmith has crafted the most vivid worlds and inspiring tales to you? Zoe, you're an amazing storyteller, and I love working with you every time. Folks, the Name Pending channel has an audio drama called God's Complex, where I play Hel, Norse goddess of the underworld. If you like mythology, go check it out. If you like action or a good story, go check it out. Hel was actually my first paid acting gig, so she has a very special place in my heart, and the whole audio drama was created by Zoe, so yeah. I would say my favorite wordsmith is, I would still stick with C.S. Lewis, but I also really enjoy Emily Carroll. She's really interesting, very imaginative, and has great illustrations. If anybody is familiar with the webcomic His Face All Red, Emily Carroll is the creator of that one. Name Pending Creation Zoe asks, what are your top 5 favorite films of all time? Okay. So ever since I got into musical theater, I haven't really been watching a lot of movies. And since I also study in critical thinking and I'm a fan of substance and meaning and takeaways in pretty much every platform of fiction, I'm really picky with movies. If I can't find anything wrong with them, I like them. But that doesn't mean that they're like my favorite. So applying everything I've said in addition to me enjoying the film from start to finish without getting bored, here we go. In no particular order, I would put number 5 at Coco. Coco was really good. My cousin showed it to me. I'm sitting there like, oh, I'm gonna hate this. It's gonna be stupid. I've already seen this concept. But no, this film blew my mind. I couldn't predict the ending, and I really couldn't find anything wrong with it. Those are 2 things that already won me over. The characters were memorable, the relationships even more so, and the voices and singing were great. The execution was amazing. The journey, the world, everything was magnificently weaved together. Nothing was wasted. I can go on. It's probably the most masterfully done film I've seen in a long time, and I would argue that it is very much a perfect movie. Number 4, Stephen King's It remake as of 2017 was fantastic. I'm a big Tim Curry fan, so I had my doubts, but when I saw it, oh my gosh, I never loved Pennywise as much as I loved Freddy Krueger or Ghostface, and this version of Pennywise was just so charming. The kids were also way more interesting, and they're all phenomenal young actors. My favorite is the little anal one, Eddie, yeah. He was my favorite. The cast had great chemistry, even with Pennywise, who I'm really happy to hear they kept away from the kids to increase the emotional fear for the scenes when they do see him. It was all just extremely well done. I'm sure there's something wrong with it, but I give it mad props for telling us the story in chronological order, unlike the novel or the original TV film. Next is definitely Moana. So this is crazy. I'm a fairy tale enthusiast, so I remember being 9 years old wanting Disney to acknowledge Rapunzel and make a movie for her. I love Rapunzel. But for even longer of a time, I wanted an island princess who had my skin color and my kind of hair. I'm half Filipino, so I kind of accepted that. I may get princesses like Jasmine or Pocahontas that could kind of look like me. But, never anything like super, super accurate or close. But since I was writing my own stories and creating my own fairy tales, I was gonna make a story with an island princess myself, and I still am, actually. But then it was announced that Moana was the next Disney princess, and I basically broke down. I cried, and I thanked God. It was like really, oh my gosh, like I can't even like explain what I was going through. It was really uncanny how much I could relate to her. They had an open casting call for her, and I'm really proud to say that I did submit an audition for Moana. I love Auli'i, though. She's super perfect to voice Moana. Maybe I can be Moana on stage or something if she ever comes to Broadway. But my parents love the ocean. My dad's a scuba diver, so he got me into that. And I'm very much in love with the ocean myself. My real name is Michelle, so when I was a kid, I always looked for seashells at every beach trip just because shell was part of my name. And in the movie, oh my gosh, it was great because so the ocean, me being named Michelle is what in my mind connects me to the ocean. And when I saw Moana in the very beginning, she's collecting seashells, and that was nostalgic for me. I felt like I experienced that because in a way I kind of did. And of course, as an actress, I've met lots of people who really doubt if I can make it as one, which I've considered too. I just may not make it as an actress, but the song How Far I'll Go felt really empowering and adventurous, relatable to me because Moana didn't want to sit and be told who she was. She wanted to go out and discover that herself. So I think that's what I wanted and what I still want. I'd rather discover who I am than be told it. I also love the visual of the ocean surrounding her. It makes me tear up every time I see that little beginning scene. It just, oh my gosh, I just start bawling. The music in Moana is one of the best scores I've heard from a Disney film. I love the myths we see and the places we go. Everything about the film just really resonates with me. Next one, probably Cabin in the Woods, just because I appreciate the cleverness of the creators. This movie has one of the best twist endings since Psycho. I really can't say much else. I love the creativity that you can tell must have taken forever. Yeah, I can't say anything else. Just go watch it. And lastly, I have to go with Clue. I'm a huge Tim Curry fan, and as much as I love all of his villains, my favorite role of his was Wadsworth from Clue. This movie was funny, it's a genuine murder mystery, it has bright, distinct characters, and the plot is well thought out and well executed. I think the first time I saw this movie, I was keen on figuring out who did it, and I actually did. One of them, because there's multiple endings. I figured out only one, not all of them. But I got one, and that's good enough for me. It's definitely a movie that I can watch multiple times throughout the year without getting insanely bored of it. Yeah. And, okay, this is the last question, by Zoe Cox. What are some of your favorite musicals, film or stage? Thank you for asking this question. Okay, as I've mentioned, a lot, I was in Heathers, so I'm gonna make a little bit of rule. I can't say anything that I've already, mentioned in this, so I can't, say Heathers or Sweeney Todd or Gentleman's Guide just because I I've overkilled some of it. So yeah, I'm gonna go with 5 stage musicals that I love. In no order, number 5, I would say Wicked. Wicked was the first musical I saw live professionally that sparked my curiosity for theater. Galinda immediately became a role I wanted to play. I love the music. Everything in the show is very enchanting. I've seen it twice and I would go to see it again. It's like something that I would always want to see. Number 4, Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812. This is another one I love. I listened to this soundtrack before it came out on Broadway and I loved how different it was. I listened to the soundtrack before it came out on Broadway and I loved how different it was, and all the characters were really interesting and really amazing. I just like that this is like kind of 9 novels, or rather like the beginning like ones like put into a musical. I think it's a great story and I really enjoy it. Number 3 has gotta be Into the Woods. That's another one of my favorites. I love the accuracy they kept with the fairy tales, and I also love that most of them don't really have names. It has incredible life lessons in it. It's definitely another dream show of mine that I would love to perform in, whether it's Cinderella or Rapunzel or Little Red Riding Hood. The next musical, which I'm gonna actually tie 2 musicals together just because I can't decide which one I like better. So taking spot number 2 is The Woman in White. It's not as well known as some other Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals, but it's so beautiful. It's wonderful. It's also based off of a novel. I love Laura. Laura Fairley is so pretty and like so cute, and she has really nice songs. And Walter and Anne Katrick are also really fun characters. Also hogging the spot of place number 2 is definitely Star Kids Twisted. Oh my gosh, like I kind of hate myself for saying this. I'm not really a big fan of many Star Kid musicals. But Twisted was like the first one, and it was the best one. Like I had to get past a lot of the cursing. I'm a person where if there's gonna be cursing, I'd rather it have meaning, and I felt like the cursing in Twisted was very verbose and unnecessary. But at the same time, like I can actually learn to appreciate that, because I think the people who look for maximum cursing would watch this show and still get a lot of substance. What I love about Twisted is the substance. It's so good. They have so many clever lyrics. The music is really good. I love the leitmotifs. It's really fun. And I think pretty much everything that they say is a very, very valid point on society, especially because I like Disney. There's a reason why I love the traditional fairy tales more than Disney. I think a lot of like today's problems, ooh, I'm digging myself a grave, are brought on because so many like younger people are influenced incorrectly through Disney movies, albeit they've gotten way better recently. Like, oh my gosh, they're so much better. But like, you know, one of the things that bugged me about Little Mermaid was they changed the ending, and, you know, they kind of made Ariel this girl who just kind of like ended up whining about something and got what she wanted in the end. Whereas like the original story is supposed to be you shouldn't change yourself to appease someone else, because it's really hard to restore yourself once you've like distorted your personality for somebody else. So like, yeah, and like Twisted really speaks to a lot of things that I think are relevant nowadays, very contemporary. And I like that they I love the character choices that they made, because these are all characters that we know, you know, so I like how they switched up some of the characters. I love that they included Scheherazade. I love Scheherazade, and I saw her as a character in a musical, and I was like, oh, I have to be her. She's like a bard, and oh my gosh, she's so awesome. I like her so much in the musical. But yeah, Twisted, great musical. Lastly, one of my favorite musicals is Be More Chill. It's like if Heathers got together with Little Shop of Horrors and had a baby. I love Jeremy, I love Christine, I love Michael, and I'm absolutely smitten with the Squip. Every character looks interesting and fun to play, except like Chloe. I'm not really a big fan of her, but I do love Brooke. The musical gets me absolutely pumped. I would love to see it or perform in it, hopefully, one day. Yeah. That's all for my Q&A. Once again, thank you so much for getting me super near to 2,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for asking questions, guys. I hope I didn't talk too fast or go on for too long. Thanks for watching. Please follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. That's LittleBallOfGiggles. On Twitter, it is Giggles_MRH. And for Snapchat, it is Giggles-MRH. So yeah, please follow me. Thank you so much once again for listening, and I hope that you guys have a fantastic night. Bye-bye.